You're listening to Buddhism for Everyone with your host, me, Joanne Fox. I've been teaching meditation and Buddhism for 17 years, and I try to do so in a way that is simple, that anyone of any religion or background can practice in their daily life. My wish is that you'll hear something that will help you become happier, more peaceful, or train to become a real spiritual warrior, because the world desperately needs more of these. This week's episode, we are looking at the mind of self-restraint and also part 2 of meditation on your future self. I thought we could stand to do this a second time because I think it's really powerful. And this section of Buddha's verses from the Dhammapada that we'll look at this week talks about self-control, conquering oneself. So here are these verses. Greater in combat than a person who conquers 1,000 times 1,000 people is the person who conquers herself. Certainly it is better to conquer oneself than others. For someone who is self-restrained always lives with mastery. Neither a god, a Gandodhaba, nor Mara, nor Brahma together could turn conquest into defeat. As a little side note, if anybody out there was wondering why we didn't have an episode last week, I apologize, but my air conditioner was broken, and we actually record this live with a live studio audience. Not really studio audience, but I have a class, because I just cannot talk into the microphone in an empty room. It's too weird. I just cannot do it. And then I also could not put people through South Florida in the heat to record also. So I'm very sorry. I feel bad about missing even 1 week. But that's the reason. So we looked at, in the last episode, meditation on your future self. And I take this meditation to be the action of purifying yourself and also imagining yourself being a freer, happier version of yourself. So in one sense, it's based upon this knowledge that the world that we live in and wake up into, like the world you wake up into in the morning, is not the world that anybody else wakes up into. Like you're not waking up into the world and it's a shared world. It's not actually that. It's your world, isn't it, that you wake up into. And you are creating your world. And how do we create it? Well, it's really created based upon, one, your previous thoughts and actions, right, that have created a continuous cycle. We call it the karma, your previous karma. But it's also the beliefs that you have influencing the way you decide to continue to act and your decisions to act. So in every moment, you feel like you're just reacting to the world, right? That's how you feel. But actually, you're perpetuating the world that you think currently exists by continuing to act and think the way you always have. So let me say it one more time. So it feels like it's just the world you're reacting to, but your life is actually being created every moment. Your world is created, your reality. And so in this moment, we're either perpetuating the reality that we basically have right now. Like we're born in this world, we have this basic reality, and it's good in some ways. You know, we're happy mostly, but then we have this little area that's not that great. Little area, right? We have one relationship, no good. Or we keep having the same problem arising over and over again. And usually we don't even realize we're having the same problem over and over again, in the sense that it might have something to do with us. Like, how do you always end up with a neighbor you don't like? Do you have the karma to always have an annoying neighbor? Well, yes, you do. But it's also the way your mind is reacting, right? So it's almost like your default reality is created by your past karma. But it's also interacting with your present decision making. So you're deciding, though not being aware of it, to perpetuate this current reality. Some good, some bad. Some people have a reality they really don't like. I was on this Alan Watts Facebook group, and this person said, I just don't know, how to be happy or other people happy. And I thought, it's kind of like you want to say, yes, it exists. Happy. But you know what I'm saying? It's like, some people, it's hard to even, they can't imagine a reality where they actually feel happy, which I can't imagine, But you're not constrained to the reality you currently have. It's only arising because we're faced with a certain amount of stuff from our past that we've done, habits, our past karma. They say that karma, you've heard this before if you've been listening a while, but they say that karma is like a mirror that you hold up. Mirror, mirror on the karma wall. What have I done to deserve this all? It's like, what did I do in my past lives? Karma is like holding up a mirror that shows you what you've done in the past. Right? What have you done in the past? So when you look at yourself today, it's actually seeing what you've done in the past. Looking at yourself today shows you what you've done in the past. What you're doing today is a mirror you hold up that you see what you'll experience in the future. So what you're doing today will show you who you will be in the future and what your reality will be like in the future. So I would say that if we could keep doing what we're doing, it's always going to look more or less, similar throughout this life. Do you think? It will make sense, doesn't it? We're trained, rolling. Probably going to be similar. But if we want our life to be really different, we'll have to start thinking and acting differently. And that's it. But truly thinking and acting differently. If you want your reality to be different, you've got to do different things than you've done in the past. So anything that we want to be different, and I dare guess that everybody wants something to be a little different about their life. Everybody? Is everybody satisfied 100%? No, I know no one is, because you'd be a Buddha if you were content with everything and everything in your life was perfect. It'd be because you had a perfect mind. You would not be listening to this podcast. You'd be giving teaching somewhere, right? Or maybe not, but you wouldn't be listening to my podcast. I know that. It's because we need a little bit of change. We're looking for some change. So, in order to change, we have to change our thoughts and actions. So this meditation on your future self, I'm going to go into a little more deeply this idea of purification of your bad karma, right? Because that future self depends upon purifying your previous thoughts and actions, doesn't it? You got to think and act differently and purify those thoughts and actions that are holding you back. And interestingly enough, science now corroborates that this is how it really works. The whole neuroplasticity, some of you heard of it, is changing. And everything you experience is actually shaping your brain every second. It's shaping your brain. So they say that what your mind rests upon, what you rest your brain on, shapes your brain. Meaning if you rest your mind on someone criticizing you, it's going to shape your brain. It's actually shaping your brain. You're going to be more likely to hone in on criticism, to dwell on criticism, and to see reality through it. What fires together wires together. So your thoughts, every time they fire in a similar way, it starts wiring your brain up to be a certain way. I know, crazy. And they can see what happens with meditators' brains now. The different parts of the brain that gets thicker. Or even in mundane ways, they did MRIs of London cab drivers back before GPS. And they had, all these cab drivers had thick hippocampus section of their brain. And that's the part associated with like spatial navigation, because they had to use that part of their brain so much. And we can literally decide how we want to think and see reality. So when they say your experiences shape your brain, it's what you decide to experience, isn't it? Because we're all in the same room right now, but we're all experiencing something different. You're somewhere out there experiencing something different, and what you decide to focus on and think about, or how you decide to react, is going to be shaping your brain. So we know with meditation that we can do this, train, and it kind of goes to the point of like, what is shaping your brain? It's your mind, which is cool. It's like, what is it shaping your brain? It's like you think your brain produces your thoughts, but actually your thoughts are shaping your brain. Crazy. So in any case, this is just to give you a little bit of encouragement from science as well, that you have the potential to have a mind that works really differently. You don't have to stick with this mind. So this part of the meditation that we looked at last week also, there's one, it's called release, the power of release in purification. There's 4 parts of it. First is the power of release. And it's where you decide what you want to release from yourself. You know, it's karma, but it's also how you're behaving and thinking now. And that's your karma. So I think with this, we're going to decide on some karma that is ripening in a way of behaving and thinking that is limiting to us. So you have to look inside and decide what part of my life could be way better. Like, what do I really want to manifest? What would my life be like if I was really broadening my horizon? You know, I've used this phrase before and talking about other people, but it's really good talking about yourself too. So are you looking in your garden, or are you looking in your garbage? Are you looking in your garden, or are you looking in your garbage? So when we are perpetuating negative karma, it's like living in the garbage of our mind. You know, it's like when we're identifying with limiting aspects of ourselves. It's like, man, that was my old self. It's not even me. I didn't do it. That was me of 1 minute ago. 10 seconds ago. You really are a new person every moment, right? Subtle impermanence says we are even every single moment a new being. Thus, when we're thinking, I'm always going to be like this. You know, I'm always going to be behaving in this way. I'm always going to be a mean person or angry, or I'm always going to have this addiction strangling me. So I can't imagine being any different. That's the times when we're just looking in our garbage. instead of our garden. And in many ways, tending your mind is tending your garden. You got to weed out the ideas, the beliefs, things that aren't working, behaviors that aren't working. And you have to plant things that will be better for you, right? Even neuroscientists and psychologists that work with this idea of neuroplasticity, they even talk about the brain like it's a garden, weeding out the ways of thinking that aren't beneficial to you and planting new ways of thinking that are beneficial to you. So Buddhists believe in the mind that goes from life to life, that's forever. It's actually a forever thing, the mind. And this brain is just a manifestation of some karma happening at this moment. Just a snapshot. This is one life, one moment, one brain. But we got a good one right now. This is the best brain to plant the biggest karmic seeds of the future. This human brain. Kitty Catterton, my dog that also attends meditation class, he really, he can't purposely plant new seeds. I mean, he will be planting new seeds by reacting to things, He's happy when he gets coffee and he's mad when he doesn't. So if he doesn't get it enough, it's just a lot more angry seeds. And now, try as I might, I say, let's all gather around and meditate. Kitty, put your paws together. Kitty. Nothing happens but growling. That's it. He can't do anything with his brain on purpose, But we can do things with our brain limitlessly. You could have a mind that's feeling down and is actually more on the depressed side, and change your mind to be one that's happy most of the time in this life. It's not impossible. Even science tells us it's absolutely possible to do that. And certainly Buddha says it's limitlessly possible, all the way up to being blissful all the time. We can even do that with this brain if we really went for it. Could be blissful all the time. My point is, wherever you're at, let's just try this. So I think that if you get some experience of even one facet of your life being radically different by changing the way you act or think, you'll have a lot of confidence that you could change anything. Right? You just take one patch of weeds at a time. We'll start with a little patch of weeds, but one that would make a profound difference to you. Maybe you've always wanted to, go back and get your degree. And you feel like that would profoundly change your life. Well, you would look at what is holding you back from that, if that's what you want to do. And then you try to purify that, what's holding you back. Maybe somebody told you were stupid at some point. And you have this belief that you walk around with all the time, that you're stupid. This limiting belief. And you have to just think, okay, I'm walking around with this belief. I've got to purify that. Or I have to purify this, laziness. I'm afraid in Buddhism there's a lot of talk about laziness. It crops up over and over. Laziness. I know we hardly think it's a non-virtue. But it's more like spiritual laziness. But it's also it is idleness, as well. If that's what's holding you back, then that's what you need to purify. Do you see what I mean? You're releasing what it is holding you back from making some profound, meaningful change in your life. It could be, It could be an addiction. It could be an addiction to video games. Somebody's listening out there and this one, ooh, oh dear. I know somebody's listening going, oh dear, she did not say that. Oh no, I did. I said that. But it's not the action itself, you know. Buddha, he even said intoxicants are not by their nature bad or good. It's just that they make you make poor decisions. And then when you're addicted to something, your suffering is immense as a result of an addiction to something. You know, that attachment just turns into pain real quick, right? It's just pain, little bit of happiness, pain, lots of pain. You just have to think about what it is in your life that's keeping you from really embracing your potential and realizing your potential. You know, we almost have a responsibility as humans to fulfill our potential because we have so much of it. You know, we almost have responsibilities. It wasn't easy to get this human body, Buddha said. You had to do like amazing things. I mean, think about how many animals and insects are on the earth. And you are one of the few that have this human body right now. You were like a profoundly spiritual being to have this human body. Yeah, you were. Like someone, you know, like you were, if you're looking in the mirror of karma in your past, to be human, you did amazing things and deeply spiritual things to have this human body. But what will your future be like with all this potential you have at this moment? And some of you might think, well, my real potential is to become an enlightened being. So what I'm going to do is start to meditate every day and start working towards that. And actually focusing in my mind on universal compassion, things like this. Whatever it is your goal might be. And enlightenment sounds like the biggest goal of all, right? It sounds like the big one. Buddha said anything is possible with your effort. Anything at all. So what we're going to do then this week again is to practice this meditation of purification and meditating on your future self. But in particular, we're going to look at this moral discipline of restraint. So restraint is where you decide you're going to refrain from a certain way of thinking or acting for a certain amount of time. It's the foundation of an ethical life, like moral discipline. And I love this whole restraint thing. I've been trying it lately. My last meditation on my future self, I've been working on it. It's a way of thinking. Because sometimes in my head, I sometimes think, well, if you could in your mind have an eye roll, you know, like you're rolling your eye, but having it in my mind, I mean, oh, yes. Not having outside my mind, but in my mind, I really am. So I've been trying to move my mind away from it when it's like that. Like, no. Like, no. I'm not doing it. And you know, it works pretty good. You said no. Ooh, I see my mind doing it. No. Eye roll happening inside. No. And it really changes the things that you experience around you. You're not experiencing all the things that make you want to roll your eyes. You're not staying on it too long. You're not resting your brain on it for very long. So mine is a mental thing that I've been working on. Maybe I'll do something different this week, though. You never know. So if you did something the last meditation, you want to continue, that's great. Or work on something new. But you figure out what it is that you need to restrain yourself from. Because the truth is, with change, it's always going to be that you have to eliminate one behavior lessen one behavior and replace it with a new positive behavior, right? There's something that's going to have to go away to usher in the new. So the power after release is the power of promise. You promise, I will not repeat that again. I won't repeat that negative action again. With release, you're thinking, I want to be free of this. I've got to be free of this. Maybe it's idleness. I've got to be free of this laziness. And so you imagine, in the meditation, we're actually going to imagine releasing it. It's going to be cool. You're going to imagine it comes out of your body, all the pores of your body, and like black smoke. And then it disappears. Or it could be other things if you want. There is one old school purification meditation, and you imagine it's black scorpions coming out. Maybe that's too hardcore. Just do black smoke. I'm just saying, right? There's some hardcore people out there going, ooh, and then there's going to be snakes. I mean, whatever you want. Meditation is a fluid sort of thing, right? So it's the point of the mental action of wanting to release it and imagining, let it go, letting it go. And then imagine it's black smoke or whatever you want it to be, coming out of all the pores of your body. And then the next power of promise, you think, I am not going to pollute myself with this again. You're just trying to release it. You got to stop polluting yourself and perpetuating this current reality, right? This reality is going to stay the same if you keep doing the same things. So then you have to say, okay, I promise I'm not going to do this again. And then you try to not do it for a certain amount of time. Like one day is a good idea. And then try to do it the next day. Or try all week. Whatever you want to do. Try all week. But you have to remind yourself every day. So you might have to just put a podcast on and say, ooh, I gotta remember, I promised I would not do it again. Right? So you're thinking, something. Nope, I'm not going to do it again. Or, when you think about what you have to release, it's all of the actions and thoughts in your way. So when you're thinking about what you're releasing, think about the actions that are manifesting as that and the harm it causes you. Think about, you gather up this wish. The power of release is really the wish to let it go. That's the power. So you have to think, what is this doing to me? What is this action or way of thinking doing to me? And then you wish to be free of it. So think about the actions, exact actions that you've got to change. Mm-hmm. And then the power of opponent force, it's called, or sometimes action. The power of action is the positive side. Now what am I going to do? Like instead of this thing I've been doing, what am I going to do to make that new, profoundly better reality come about? What am I going to do? Whatever it might be. And I think it's important to consider the actions you have to take in a very simple, concrete, your first step, your second step, If it's getting fit, it's literally tomorrow I'm going to go to the gym. Tomorrow I'm going to pack my gym bag before class. You know what I'm saying? It's like you really have to, right? When we talked about this in the episode on effort, it's literally like that. You thinking, what is my first action? And then you do that action and you persevere doing the next action. And then eventually you're confident and you have a whole new reality. You really have a new reality every second anyway, but you don't know it. You're like choosing to perpetuate the old one kind of thing. Does that make sense? It's really new, but you go, oh, it looks a lot the same. I'm going to keep going. And then, yeah, it's the same. But it's really new. But if you want to have the world appear in a radically different way, it's going to come from actions, right? The whole paradigm shift is going to come from new actions done for long enough. And that's it. It's kind of simple. And I will say this. Your feelings manifest it's coming from your previous karma. It's kind of associated with what you have going on right now. So when you're acting differently, sometimes you're not going to feel like you want to do that in that better way. So you can't always go with your feeling, Sometimes you're going to have to resist the feeling like, ooh, I hate that idea. Why did I promise to do that in my meditation? Oh, I don't feel like doing that. I really don't feel like going to the gym. Well, you're really not for like the first week or 2 or maybe 5 until it becomes a habit, right? It's not going to, because your feelings are more associated with how you've been training yourself to behave. So they're not going to necessarily come up roses when you're acting really differently at first. So we have to resist our feelings sometimes and do a positive thing even though we don't feel positive about it at first. Eventually your feelings will catch up with your new positive way of being. They will catch up and they'll be different. And then my favorite, so we have the power of release. We have the power of promise. I promise not to do that anymore. Power of action. And then the power of support. You pray, please help me to do this. Do we like this idea? So what I want you to do is visualize when you've released everything, in that purification, releasing the negative karma. Imagine that your new self manifests. Right? Imagine your new self, because it's all purified. And you try to dwell for a little bit on what that new self feels like. And really think about what it feels like for a little bit to be that. As the more we can imagine those new ways of being, the quicker we'll bring it into reality. Everything that ever came about started in the mind. The house was built in the architect's mind originally. So we're like the architect, or more like the garden, the landscape architect, the garden of our mind. And try to be kind to yourself with this and be in your garden of your potential instead of where you've been at. Allow the future result to shape your present rather than your past self shaping your present. Who you potentially can be shaping who you're going to be, rather than just allowing the past to shape us. All right, so let's try this. So if you want to meditate in a formal posture, check that your back is nice and straight. Your feet can be on the floor or cross-legged. But you want a nice straight back with your shoulders dropped and relaxed. Your head's tilted slightly forward. Your eyes are closed. And you breathe through your nostrils. To begin the meditation, focus on your breath at your nostrils for a few moments. Become present please think about what you want to create in your future. What do you want to undertake to do starting today? What is it that you need to release, to purify, so that this new reality can appear? Think about what you want to purify very carefully. What is it actually doing to you right now? Try to develop the wish to release this. Imagine that as you feel this wish to purify this karma, to release these habits, that your wish starts to push out the negative karma from every pore in your body. It oozes out like black, oily smoke. And then the black smoke simply disappears into space, like a mist lifting. Imagine your new self. Imagining having fulfilled what it is you want to do. That future self. What is it like? How does it feel? We now generate the power of promise. Make a promise to practice restraint with this negative way of thinking, behaving. Promise yourself not to do it anymore. And for this week, we promise we will not do this anymore. You can keep this promise for this week. And the power of action. What action do you promise yourself you will do tomorrow to start creating the future you want, the mind you want? Promise yourself you will do that action. And the actions needed for the whole of this week. And finally, the power of support. With this, if you want to, you can make a prayer to any holy being you connect with, you believe in, or simply pray, please help me to do this. And start to relax your concentration a little bit. Become aware of the room around you again. And slowly arise from your meditation. So the idea with this is to try really hard this week So it doesn't seem so overwhelming. 7 days till the next podcast episode, right? It's just 7 days, but it's going to be amazing because somewhere in day 5, you're going to go, oh, this is way better. I could see myself doing this forever. In reality, the point is that this is the change that will continue on and on and on. Well, not just limited to 1 week. But I think it's good to think, let's just try this for a week, but really thinking in your mind it's forever. Does that make sense? It's both hardcore 1 week, forever. Let's start here. All right. Good luck, everyone, creating your new reality. I'm creating mine. No more inner eye rolls. We'll see. All right. Thanks so much.